Trying something different. Let's see if it works.
All right, let's share this, get this out. I've shared it, so I'm ready whenever you want to hit the...
I've gotten used to changing the name so that it actually shows the episode instead of welcome to our live show, because fuck all why you can't change that ahead of time. I don't know.
It'd be great if Elon can just get this squared away where we can just fucking, like, podcast from here.
Right?
And still be able to upload it elsewhere.
Yeah. I can't type. It's too cold. I can't type. We're not episode 64 or 34. It's 64. Let's pray it all works today.
Yeah.
Jingle inbound.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 64 of the Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast. I am J007 TV, joined, as always, by Sub1 Katie. What's good, man?
Not much. Just enjoying Saturday morning. Holidays are upon us, so it's every flipping weekend is like, here's 17 things you're doing. Like we spent last night at an amusement park doing their holiday lights, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it, except for the fact that I got on a roller coaster and lost my favorite hat. Some bitch.
That's okay. So, we're going to be getting some Slightly Above Average Gaming Podcast hats at some point, so yeah, that'll be your new favorite.
My new favorite hat, and I won't take that on a roller coaster.
I know, right?
But yeah, no, so that was good, except for that part. And then my head was cold the rest of the night because it's the only amusement park on Earth that doesn't sell hats of any form. So major L on that.
Sucks.
But otherwise it was good. Kids had a lot of fun. So that's really what matters this time of year, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Right.
So we're just here for to transport the children from one fun thing to another. So
feel like an Uber driver, just don't get paid.
Much.
If I'm being honest.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I spent the week in St. Louis. I have my territory is changing for work, so I had to do kind of a distributor handover and a couple reviews, that kind of thing. So went up there and did that. It was cold as hell Monday and Tuesday. Then it warmed up Wednesday, and then it was 25 and windy on Thursday when I was trying to come home. And it really sucked because, like, I booked my flight home from St. Louis to Dallas Fort Worth at like 11:54. Like that was going to be my takeoff time, right? So I get to the airport about 9 or so. I eat breakfast, a shitty breakfast too, might I add. And then my flight was delayed twice out to 1:40 takeoff time. And then they gave me the option, like I saw a pop-up on the app and they were like, yeah, you can change your flight for no cost. And I'm like, sweet. So I did that and took off at 1:36, or well, it was supposed to be 1:36, but that flight was delayed too. So like I should have been home by like 5 and already grinding the game and doing the update and everything. And I didn't get home till probably 6. I swear it felt like 6:30, maybe 7. By the time I got the update done and everything, yeah, it was fairly late, man. But I'm just glad to be home.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, and, that's my last trip of the year, like my last overnight trip of the year. And so I'll have a few weeks to kind of chill out and recharge a bit before I start hitting my new territory starting the 1st. So,
yeah. Well, it'll be your new territory still has some decent travel, right? You're not as local as you wanted to be.
So basically, minus Louisiana, the farthest drive I'm going to have either way is 4.5 hours.
So that's doable on a day trip.
Yeah, I wouldn't do a day trip at 4.5, but like, so I'll leave on like a Tuesday, come back Thursday afternoon.
Okay.
So I'm only missing 2 nights, from home, and then, yeah, but there's a lot of potential. So I'm excited for the challenge because then eventually in 2 years, I'm going to be taking over the local territory too. So once that happens, yeah, I'm going to be making it rain in this bitch.
That's what we're looking for. So cool. Very good. So you mentioned you played. Did you have a chance to go to test out Ranked? I was Ranked.
Yeah, I did. So the first night of Ranked, we had some serious issues with like connectivity. Like we just kept dropping. Like almost every match, one of us disconnected, either in the pregame lobby or in the actual match. So that kind of sucked. And
were they handing out suspensions?
No.
Oh, that's good.
No, they weren't doing that, but we had a second place with a bunch of kills. Like I think we had like, I could be mistaken, but I think we had like almost 30 kills in a second place and we didn't get any of that.
Yeah. That about sums up what I've heard.
But last night I got to play and we had a minor issue here or there. I think we just got lucky, but we were able to play most of the night. We got some top placements, got our first ranked win of the season, which was nice.
Congrats.
I was top of the leaderboard too, might I add.
Nice.
It was not carried this time, but yeah, so we got that and got into silver too. So pretty much the plan is to get into gold today. And then if I can get into platinum by the end of Monday.
All right. Grind begins.
Yep.
Top 250 inbound.
No. But I will say though, since it's so early on, I am seeing people with top 250 calling cards and World Series of Warzone calling cards a little bit in ranked, but it is what it is. I forget. Oh, we had Dongi in our lobby last night, and my guy King actually killed him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Third party or 1v1? No?
I think it's just straight gunfight.
Cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, no.
Frame that and put it on your wall.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But, I mean, I didn't kill him. I think I was fucking dead. But overall, man, it's been, like, just the ranked play has been pretty decent when we're able to play. I'm still trying to really figure out, like, how we want to approach this map from a ranked standpoint. Like, I feel like Al Mazrah was a bit straightforward, if that makes any sense. This map with the open spaces and, you know, just things like that, like it's a little bit different. And I mean, some of the buildings aren't as good to rat in. And I mean, that's kind of what you do a bit in ranked. Even the good players rat a little bit, unless you're Erie and top 250, then you have to go pop and push everything. But I think we've kind of settled in on the fact that we're going to just keep grabbing contracts to make sure we have money. And, you know, if we need to get sticky, we will.
How is the money situation?
Decent. It's decent.
How about ammo?
No, the ammo is still shit. Like that whole deal with, I went back to running scavenger until they fix that, which kind of sucks.
I'll bet.
But yeah, so I went back to running scavenger, but yeah, and I mean that's one of the things I think we'll kind of get into here in just a little bit as we kind of get into you know, just the season 1 reloaded. How about you? Have you been able to play any of the multi?
Yeah, I've been running multi. You know, back on the grind, working on the camo grind, trying to just finish that off. So I'm at like 27 gold, I think, and a couple diamonds scattered about for fun. So I really need to get back on the horse and get that push through. But you know, it's been good. It's, you know, I'm not having many problems. I'm seeing more of that hit reg issue. Like I put up a clip. I'm going to, I think I got a clip. I need to go back and look this morning of just me unloading on somebody and they just didn't die. And then I died, you know, so that's bad. That's coming in, making its way, you know, spreading the love, sharing the love everywhere.
Yeah.
So thanks for that. That's going well. I appreciate it. Whoever put that in the patch notes, I don't believe you.
Yeah, well, it was funny because I'm seeing people tweet like they're actually quote tweeting that part where they talked about how they were trying to basically help the connectivity and whatever. I don't know the exact language that they use, but like better stability and everything. And people are like, "Is this a fucking joke?" Like
a little bit. It feels like a joke.
Well, I mean, honestly, it really does. So, like, this is the thing to me. This company makes $1 billion a year from the game. And I'm talking about just Activision, right? Like I'm not talking about Microsoft in general, because it starts with Activision. But they make $1 billion a year between their yearly title plus Battle Pass, all that stuff. And it's like, to me, the most important thing is connectivity, right? Like, because if people, more so than everything else, all of it, more so than everything else, if people cannot stay connected to your game, they will go play something else, and they won't buy anything, you know? And that's what's frustrating to me. And it's like, you know, we have to keep bringing that to the forefront on social media. We have to, because that's the only way anything fucking gets done around here anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think part of the problem too is I don't know what is going on in these studios right now, but have you seen the AI thing rearing its head?
What?
So
the zombie thing that
The
people
zombie
are pissed
Santa with
about.
6 fingers, and then now all the voice actors are quitting.
Dude, that's a little concerning to me, man. It's like if there ever was like a half-ass like approach, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's we're going to learn real fast here that AI is not ready and may never be ready to like actually produce AAA or 4A content at
Well,
scale.
I got to be real honest with you, man. I don't want it to. I stand with the artists. I actually the developers, the real actual people. And it's funny because, some of these people I may not agree with some of the things they do, but I don't want to see AI come in and take all their
Mhm.
fucking jobs.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, what's the best way to phrase this? If you act like an idiot, you're going to be treated like one, right? And it's been a combination of everybody is either running around. I mean, we'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's like, look at some other franchises where everybody gets, everybody pushes out what they want people to play and not what people want to play. And it tanks. And then that's a big overhead loss, right? And so it's kind of like, on the one hand, you can't wreck a franchise with what you want people to play, and at the same time, right, you have to be able to produce content that people like. And so if you're not gonna produce what people want to play, then you become replaceable. If you're doing stupid stuff and wasting everybody's money and time, you're gonna get swapped out. I mean, Ubisoft is about to be entirely replaced by AI. There won't be anybody working at Ubisoft because they're out of money. And it's like, I look at the voice actor. There was that voice actress that she did. What was she famous for? She was in a role, and it was like she had some tweet where she basically outlined that she worked like 20 hours total. Was like her workload, and she expected to be paid like millions. You remember that? It was like a year and a
No,
half
but
ago.
that's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, but that's the issue, right? They want, people want to be paid, blockbuster, Brad Pitt in his prime paychecks, and you look at the actual amount, and you look at what they carry, and they don't carry enough.
Well, I mean, look at it like this though. Like there's two extremes. You got some of these people expecting to be fucking paid like Brad Pitt, and then you
Yeah.
have the companies who don't want to pay you shit or a fair
Exactly.
wage. So it's like somewhere it has to meet somewhere in the middle, man.
Yep. And right now everybody wants the extremes, right? The companies don't want to pay anybody anything. And then people also want millions of dollars for their work. It's crazy.
I gotta be honest. I think that right now, I think Activision is relying entirely too much on AI.
Well, it's showing. It shows in the anti-cheat for sure, and it shows in some of these graphics they put out.
Yeah.
I don't even, they're not even reviewing this stuff. They're just like, it's like typing, it's like they type in a grok and say, generate an image that shows this, go.
Who's the
And that's a
fucking
problem,
quality
too.
control person? Like, that person should be fired.
That person
should
probably
be
was
fired.
fired. They probably were fired. Let's be honest.
I mean, like, who can look, like, when you do stuff like that, you have to be detail oriented, right? Like, you have to look at the small details. Because guess what? The community's going to. There are people, we're all very passionate about this game. So even all the minute details, they matter. They
Yep.
really do. I mean, now is that graphic? Is that a deal breaker? Like, does that mean zombies is trash? No. Because actually I'm hearing very good things about that new map or whatever. I haven't touched it. I won't touch it, but I'm hearing good things on the timeline about it being one of the best zombies maps, and that's cool. But like, it just says a lot about how they view like the little things, and like, you know what I mean? It's like it says a lot about their approach.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the problem is the approach right now is to do things that reduce costs as much as possible. And traditionally, the human cost is one of the most expensive any company takes on, right? Like, it costs more money to be, it costs so much money, especially if you're in like California or New York. Like, the cost to hire a person is plus 60% of whatever their salary is usually.
Yeah.
So, they're trying to cut costs everywhere they can. and then they're replacing it with AI, and AI is not up to snuff. A lot of people rumoring that a lot of the maps we're playing in multiplayer are AI built or heavily AI assisted, and I don't disagree with that. They play like
mind like using tools that are available to you. Like that's not at all what I'm saying, but listen, you don't have fucking robots playing this game, so you don't need a robot designing it. My so the game needs human hands and eyes and ears
it
on
does.
it. Period.
Yep.
Like don't take that shortcut. And like Drade said below, like this is the thing. They've gotten away with all the bullshit for the last 6 years that they've gotten away with is because up to now, and we're going to talk about this here in a little bit, they really haven't had any like true competition. Like ever since, and we've talked about this several times, ever since Rainbow, Battlefield, and Ghost Recon have been dog shit, they haven't had to fucking do it. Like you know what I mean? Like they haven't had to change.
And there haven't even been any adjacent games and genres that have done well, right? It's like you look at Far Cry. Far Cry used to have good games, and they're Far Cry 5 I enjoyed because the setting was beautiful and it was well done, but it's the same as Far Cry 4, and which is the same as Far Cry 3, right? And Far Cry 6 was just trash. And then they had Far Cry Primal, which was also trash. And then, so six flopped, and then, so that's out. Ghost Recon hasn't put anything out, so no Wildlands. There just isn't anything out there, right? It's like you had Hogwarts for a minute. You have all these little games that pop up for a minute, right? Hogwarts was there for a minute. Pal World was there for a minute. And then, it's like you play it once and you're done. Games that don't have any replay value.
Yeah.
Are what will pop off. People are craving that feeling of like playing something fun and exciting. And then they hop onto it, and it's like they do it once and it's like, all right, now what? And so they're just running out of steam. And something's got to change, because right now it's like, for me, Warzone remains unplayable. The only mode that I get 1% or less packet loss is the damn boot camp mode. Everything else, I'm 5. The best I get in Plunder is 5%. If I play the real game, it's like usually 5 to 7, maybe 10%, depending on where I am on the map. And then resurgence mode, it's 10% floor up to 30%. And 30% packet loss is no fun for anybody.
No, it really isn't. And you know what's crazy? So like this is like no cap. I can only think of one time, and it happened recently, one time where I had serious lag issues in Black Ops 6.
Mm-hmm.
Those servers run very good. They're good on that side. So
yeah.
When we're talking about shitty servers, we're not talking about Black Ops 6, because that doesn't apply over there. They got that ship running, a tight running ship. It's a tight running ship over there. But Warzone, on the other hand, it's been a clusterfuck, dude. I had 175 ping the other night, which is a lot for me. It's not like Lord Knight.
75? You're not even playing in the same dimension as everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's funny because, like, Lord Knight, he's over in the Middle East, and he'll come in and play with us sometimes, and his ping's about a 200 or whatever. And that I expect, but I'm playing in fucking North America, dude. Like,
yeah.
My ping should probably never be above 40.
I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand what they've done. Like, what happened? Because they had Warzone teed up for success. Like, we had the opportunity to have like the best Warzone since Verdansk, even with the map reset. Like, if you go back and you go back to pre-launch, I was excited. I thought Warzone was finally back.
Yeah.
And this is worse. I will say this right now. This is arguably the worst state Warzone has ever been in, bar none. Modern Warfare 2, Warzone 2.0 was a better game than this, because at least it worked. You could play the fucking game. I can't play this game. I can't even play it. How the fuck am I supposed to enjoy the game when it doesn't even fucking work? It doesn't matter what they add to it. It needs to work. At Warzone 2, we might not have liked the game, but it worked. And that's what we need. We need games that work first. Number one, the game has to work.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like that should be the number one priority is like, and I think the thing that's frustrating to me and probably other people too is when you have these issues, like I can deal with having issues after an update. I'm used to it. I've played Call of Duty for as long as most everyone else has, right? We're fucking used to it. But the thing that's infuriating to me is just sometimes the lack of communication. Like, at least tell the community, hey, we know this is a big deal. We're working on it. We'll get you a patch out as soon as we can identify the issue and fix it. Literally, if they did that, that shit goes a long way. And I feel like right now, when it comes to Warzone, they are squandering the goodwill they built up last year. It's
Yeah.
the community, you know, and I don't want to fucking hear it's just COD Twitter anymore. It's
No.
everybody.
It's Call of Duty is the problem right now because they are screwing this up so badly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just not going to play Warzone. I will stay in multiplayer because multiplayer is great. I'm having a great time in multiplayer. I think the maps are good. So, you know, the new maps, the Nuketown is fun. Holiday Nuketown is great. I like the snowmen.
Yeah.
But
That's
Warzone
cool.
is untouchable. Like, I just, you know, I'm going to boot the LTM and see it, you know, when that the sleigh ride LTM, when that loads. I don't know if that's live yet.
Yeah, it's live. I think it's live. I thought I saw some kind of
I'll
like
look at it. I'll see if
runaway
that
something or
runs.
other.
If that runs smoothly, then fine. I'll have something to play. But for now, it's like, I can't even qualify for ranked because I can't play the game. And it's like, you know, they say they fix things. I'm trying to find the quote where they said, oh, we fixed the server. It's like, no, you didn't. You absolutely did not. If anything, it's worse.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you know, Drade's in the chat, and that dude, no matter where he's gone, I don't know why, but like when he was on the West Coast, terrible fucking ping. His shit was always fucked up. He moves, and the one time I played with him, guess what? Terrible fucking ping. His shit was fucked up. I don't know what the fuck, dude. Drake, maybe Call of Duty doesn't like you, bro.
Yeah, maybe. Could be. But yeah, no, it's just, it's frustrating because, you know, it's like look, we have a podcast, was a Warzone main. Now I'm like, I'm not even banned. I checked. I decided to check to make sure I'm not banned. Nope, not banned. Not shadowed. It's just not working. And I don't know if it's server location. I don't know if it's their infrastructure is breaking down or they cheaped out on something, but it's just, you know, whatever they're doing. And the only thing I can think of is that anti-2 box shit they put together. Like that's new, you know. If they're messing with stuff that hard, like maybe it's time to turn that back around because
And that VPN thing too.
Yeah, whatever they're doing is making it worse.
Well, okay, so think about this. One of the things they said when they talked about addressing the VPN issue was making it a ping threshold. Oh, everything was fine before then. Now all of a sudden there's fucking issues. Turn that shit off. Let people VPN their ass off. Who cares?
Well, they care apparently.
Jesus Christ. Or how about this? Just don't give people a reason to have to do that. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, but you've played ranked. So tell me how, you know, I read through the ranked overview, but tell me how it's playing. So they've gotten rid of Black Ops weapons, which is probably a W, right?
No,
I'm sorry. Modern Warfare weapons.
Yeah, it's Black Ops 6 only weapons, which is fine, which is, you know, that's why like that's part of the reason why I grinded those weapons so hard on Black Ops 6 and tried to max out as many as I could.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's not an issue for me. They took away, I guess, one-shot snipers like in ranked, which I'm kind of on the fence about that to a degree, but I can also see where when you get up into the higher levels, that's a like a one-shot sniper's a problem for sure.
Yeah.
Like, so I totally understand that. You know, I get it, but I mean, just overall, it's playing fine. Like I said earlier in the episode, just trying to kind of dial in on how we want to approach the map and how this map plays. I've noticed some of the circles are fucking weird again, like the
Yeah,
end circles, like where they're ending and like close to water and shit like that. Like,
I feel like
so,
that's how Urzikstan was at launch.
yeah. Well, and then the other thing too is I don't know if you saw my tweet, and I credit Swisham for this, but she's the one that took the photo. But I noticed it also when I played. The buy station distribution is fucking terrible right now. Like there are whole sections of the map that don't even have a buy station, and then there's some sections that got like 15 buy stations in like a 600-meter radius, dude.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that was buy stations were definitely an issue, if I recall, back at launch. So that's not surprising because they did revert the map. Have you run into the SR cap yet?
No, no. I mean, the most kills I've gotten in there was 9 kills and a win. So yeah, that was no. I personally haven't, but I
How about
think that
the how does it feel with the SR awards based on opponent skill?
honestly, dude, I can't really tell a difference yet. It's
Okay.
I think for me personally, it's still too early to tell that. Because I mean I don't know. You know what I mean? Because like a lot of people right now are in bronze or silver. So
Right.
you know what I mean? Like I think in a week or two, once things kind of level out and the skill distribution goes to what it typically is, I think then we'll be able to tell. But for me personally, like I can't tell. But one of the things that they did that I like is now there's no cap on who you can play with. So if I'm platinum and say Riddick makes it into Crim, we can
Mhm.
play together still. You know what I mean? It just goes
Right.
off of the
You're
higher
just in the Crim and 250s.
yeah, yeah. So I
So
don't know how much of that I'd really want to do, but you know, it
you
is
know
what it
that
is.
that's probably not a bad thing, to be
No,
honest.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. But I mean, I think that overall, like, you know, we were talking about some of the issues, and I said this last week on Twitter. Yeah, there are issues, and yeah, some of these things are infuriating, but I think the game right now is better than it was when season one launched. I think that, well, I can't really say that with the disconnection issues on ranked, but I think that in 2 to 4 weeks the game will be better off than it is now, or at least that's my hope.
Well, the devs are going on break here shortly. They're going to
I
be
know that
off.
fucking scares me too
They're going to
because
be, so whatever we have, I'd say next week, whatever we have by the end of next week is probably what we're stuck with until after the new year.
that's I don't understand that.
I mean, I do. I wouldn't want to work over. If my employer made me grind through Christmas, like I quit a job because my employer was like, you can grind 6 days a week, 10 hours a day through Christmas, through the new year. He gave me the permission. It said, there's a couch here for you to sleep on. And I said, find somebody else. So I get it.
Well, I mean,
You
at
know,
least have like a skeleton crew to address like major issues, you know, or something like people on call that can just run up there, fix some shit, and leave. You know,
they'll
I
have a
believe everyone
SOC.
should
I mean,
be
they'll
off
have a
their own call.
SOC. So anybody who's not familiar with how tech companies work, site operations center. So they'll basically be people whose job it is to make sure that the infrastructure runs, so the game won't turn off. But they're not going to release updates. Like no one will be working on updates.
Yeah, so you
So
know there will be
whatever
no
we get
weapon
by probably the end of
balancing.
next week, whatever we get is what we're going to have. And
Did
then
you
it's just
see
going to be,
that they buffed all of the velocity for the Black Ops ARs?
yep,
They feel nice, dude. That XM4,
good.
especially with that buffer weight stock, is
Mm-hmm.
fucking nice, dude. I mean, I'm getting a shit ton of damage with that weapon.
Good.
The fire rate is good. It's killing fast, and it seems to me like they are trying. If and I don't know for sure, but it just seems to me like it's almost trying to get back to like how the ARs were in Verdansk, actually.
Yeah.
You know, where you have a long range AR meta, which they did say they wanted that. Like they did say they wanted the ARs to get back into the long range meta because for the last 2 years, it's either been battle rifles or LMGs.
Yeah. I have been working on guns in multiplayer, and I'll say they've made some adjustments to how the weapons balance in multiplayer too. Visual recoil is less, and it's been nice. I will say that things feel better in multiplayer than they did, and they felt pretty good before. So that's making an improvement. Hat tip to that, and recognizing that they've made ARs. They've just absolutely cucked ARs for the last 2 years. It's nice to see them admit that and say they're going to make some changes. So W for that. I love me. I love to run an AR in the old Warzone, and
people are already complaining about the 100-round AR XM4 meta, and I'm not running the 100-round. Drake came into chat the other day. He's like, why are you running 45 rounds? And I was running just the 45 round one, thinking that maybe the mobility, you know what I mean? Like the mobility would be a little better. And he's like, dude, you need to at least run the 60. And so I'm like, all right. So I put the 60 round on, and that's what I'm running, 60 rounds. Yeah. I'm not running the 100 round. But
60 rounds is usually enough.
Yeah. And Dre's right too. The audio is better. Like the overall, it's a noticeable difference too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm able to hear footsteps and everything else, which, like I told you before, for whatever reason, I didn't ever really have those audio issues that like a lot of other people had. And it's crazy because, so I was looking at my settings a week or so ago, and, obviously I was streaming, and Jigsy was like, what the fuck is your game volume doing down at 66? And I had my game volume down at 66, but I legitimately hear everything, and things are too loud. I think it's,
But you're running it through a mix amp, right?
Yeah,
you're not running. So that's the thing. You're not running it through, just to clarify for everybody listening. He's not running straight audio off the game. He's running it through the Astro mix amp. So yep. he has a mix going, and he has, that thing does amplify. So turning it down in game isn't necessarily the negative that it would be if you're just running it flat. So there's that going on. I think that's fair to point out.
Yeah, of course.
But I've been messing with the audio on console and on PC, and it is noticeably better if you're just running it straight. So even to the point that like I am getting pretty good audio just straight up off of TV speakers, off my soundbar. I'm getting decent audio.
Nice.
So overall, audio has come a long way from when the game came out and it didn't work, which is good. We hope. I mean, look, as hard as we are on the state of the game right now, it should be pointed out that the game has so much potential, which is probably why it's pissing people off so much, myself included. Because it has everything it needs to be one of the best renditions of Warzone. When Verdansk drops, like this could be the best Warzone we've had. But they have to get this stuff working, right? Like that's the number one thing. This stuff has to work. And if it's not working, then it's not then it doesn't matter how much good stuff there is. If the basics are broken, the game is trash. That's just that's how it works. And this isn't me complaining. I'm not whining. I've been accused of being a whining streamer more than I care to admit the last couple of weeks, which is funny because I barely stream. But the foundation of the game has to be good, or the game will not be good, no matter what you put on it, right? Like Star Wars Outlaws, the foundations of the game were bad. Stealth, which had the huge missions of the game relied on stealth, and stealth didn't work, right? Enemy AI didn't work. Like there was so much that was just bad about the game that it didn't matter what else content-wise they put in there. The game was not good because functionally it didn't work. And it was so bad that they actually went and removed stealth from the game. Like if you think I'm capping on this, they just took the whole mechanism and element and deleted those missions, like gone, because it was so broken they couldn't fix it.
Well, and we're going to talk about the publisher of that game here in just a little bit.
Yeah, they're in trouble.
But I think you're spot on when you talk about the basic functions of the game have to fucking work. And if those things don't work, it doesn't matter, like you said, whatever other content that that you put out. Like if people can't play your game, it doesn't fucking matter, man. And I'll also point out too that part of the reason that there is so much frustration on the timeline is let's not forget we didn't get a new map this year. You know, they didn't support the map last year. We're running the same map this year, and now we're having issues. So yeah, people are going to be a little bit irritated and pissed off. Obviously, there's a right and a wrong way to go about dialogue with, with the developers, and a way to treat people with respect and dignity. But I mean, voicing your frustrations is okay. And, again, I know people on our timeline that would probably tell people the first couple days of Cyberpunk 77 to stop complaining. Just stop complaining about the game. And that game was absolute fucking dog shit and didn't work. But they'd still be like, I take whatever I get. Just stop complaining. Like,
but you know what?
They
fixed it, right? They fixed the game. The game works now. The game is actually supposed to be pretty phenomenal from what I hear. I haven't had a chance to play it. But yeah, they have to, you got to get the fundamentals right. Like, nothing matters if the fundamentals are bad, right? Nothing matters. So the fact that we have all of this stuff that's fundamentally not that's fundamentally not working, and they're still trying to shove content at us. And I'm going to rewind us to Caldera. Caldera didn't work either for most people. And when it did work, it wasn't great. And they canceled an entire season of Caldera because they had to spend so much time fixing the game. And we're and instead of taking that approach now, it feels like they're just going to keep shoving at us, which is its own problem.
Well, and then when you factor in its suspected AI generated content, did you see that fucking rooster that's been going around on Twitter, like a rooster operator?
No.
Again, I said this last week. That shit is not for me. If you like that, then go on. Then I mean, I prefer more of a traditional when it comes to the operators. Now, weapon skins and stuff like that, that's a little bit different to me. I like the drip, you know what I mean? But just some of that shit is fucking crazy, dude.
Dude, my favorite operator of all time was the dad on vacation. You had the flip flops and the floppy hat and the fanny pack.
Oh yeah,
that was my favorite.
Well,
I ran that for days.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with everything that we've been talking about. So the CDL kicked off yesterday, right? It's the qualifiers for Major 1, and I was watching Optic play the Boston Breach. They had so much shit in there that was broken. The kill feed was broken. It kept crediting Kennedy with almost all the kills. That kill feed was broken. The weapon skins, because they have to wear the CDL operators. The weapon skins were glitched out and broken, and the operators were kind of glitched out and broken too. That's kind of what we're talking about. But when you think about these games, there's certain areas and core areas that have to work. First of all, your connectivity has to work. Right now, it isn't. The shooting has to feel good, which it's feeling better. They've made some changes, so that's working. The movement has to be decent and not punishing, which, there's been a little bit of controversy on what that developer said about my personal opinion. I don't like the B-hop and this and that. And so people absolutely flamed his ass online, but the movement, I guess that's going to be a personal approach or whatever. And then, your cosmetics and things like that. But the main things are connectivity, moving, and shooting, and audio. Those are the top 4 things right there that have to work. And if those don't work, and then your interactions with things like not being able to grab shit out of a box, or the way loot is spreading, those things, it's just a perfect storm.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like I said, you the basics have to work, and they're not working right now. And that's the biggest problem with the game. Everything else they've added. And let's talk about the controller real quick. Talk about things adding for no reason. Why? After 20 years, we have played Call of Duty for 20 years, just about. Have we cracked 2003? Yeah, 20 years.
Almost. Well, I started in 07, but
okay. Well, 03, Call of Duty launched, right? So yeah, we're past 20 years. 20 years of Call of Duty, sensitivity has been 1 to 20, or some variation of it. Why are we messing with it?
know why. Like, what's the reason behind it? Like, what went into that decision is what I would like to know. Why did we
I don't
change that?
know. It makes no sense. And considering that there's still a portion of the player base, probably in the double digits of the player base, percentage wise, that never changes it, that doesn't change it, doesn't know how to change it, and doesn't know anything about sensitivity or how to tune it for themselves. Like, why are we making it more confusing? Like, I routinely, to this day, still have conversations with people about how to set their sensitivity. This game has been out. Warzone has been out for 5 years, and people still don't have sensitivity right. Why are we making it more complicated?
Dude, I had 2,500 games last year, and I didn't have all of my settings dialed in until Cap came in. Our buddy Caps Lock, friend of the podcast, came in, and he helped me dial in my settings. And I'll tell you, I've been able to fucking beam since we changed those settings, dude. Like, seriously. So again, thank you, Caps Lock. But no, you're right, dude. I mean, like, I have that many games in, and I don't understand how all of the settings work exactly. So imagine somebody who's played fucking 8 hours or whatever in a 2 or 3 week period. Like, they're not going to know either.
No, and it makes, I don't want to say it makes no sense, but it's definitely screwing with, it's going to screw with like the population, it's going to screw with the players that, they need the most help. They don't need things more complicated. They need things less complicated. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, we are literally creating problems for ourselves. And it's like this decimal thing. First of all, the sensitivity is broken in this game anyways,
by 1.
right? It's off, which means that Hexsmith went through and recalculated it for everybody. Like, you have to go and, like, it has to be recalculated now. And so you can't even say, oh, you're used to this sensitivity. Well, here's what it'll actually translate to. No, you have to go through and do math to figure it out. I just don't get it.
Luckily, mine stayed the same.
I haven't changed it. In fact, my BO6 sensitivity, so with the conversion, it's a bit higher than I think I'm used to, which I've actually, probably needed to bump that up anyways. I think I turned it down too much when it launched.
Dude, I've been playing the last few years down on like 3 and 4, which was really low because I was getting into that habit of like the happy thumbs, my shot will. So anyway, but I bumped it up. I'm playing at a 6, I think, what was a 6.6 and I've played as high as 7.7. I mean, I don't like all that jerky, like, you know what I mean? I want to have a little bit more control.
Yeah.
So that's just, but yeah, people have like heard me say what I was playing at, and they're like, what in the fuck?
I mean, I'm just saying 3 and 4 cents is like bot sensitivity.
Well, that might explain why I played like a bot last year. I don't know.
I mean, but yeah, no, I mean, it's just, they're just, and then here's where it's going to really make things messy is the ADS, right? So it used to be, so for anybody who did that really
change too?
Think it through, well, it has to, because it's a multiplier, right? So it used to be the way that ADS, the way that sensitivity worked, right? 1 through 20. And then you go to your sensitivity multiplier, which is usually a decimal. It's usually less than 1, right? So like, for example, if you played so like for me, I think that the ideal sensitivity is a classic 6, right? In terms of shooting, like you should when you ADS, you should be at a 6 sensitivity, in my opinion. It is the correct amount, I think, of ADS movement and rotation and control, right? Now, some people, like Caps Lock, are machines. They're just monsters, and they can play at 2020 and do well. But most people most people find the right balance of being able to track movement at a 6 and not overshoot. However, a 6 sensitivity in general is a little slow, especially in, the sweatier lobbies where people are running past you, right? You just cannot rotate fast enough to keep up with them. So most people will step up their base sensitivity to like a 7, or an 8, right? And so I'll use the example of I would play on a 10 so that I can rotate fast enough to keep up with people. But then I use my ADS sensitivity, my multiplier of like a 0.6, to reduce my ADS sensitivity to a 6. And the way it works is you just take your sensitivity of a 10 and you set your ADS sensitivity to a 0.6, and then you multiply them together, and that tells you what your ADS sensitivity is. That's how it works.
That's too much
But now
math for
now
me,
you've
bro.
got to figure out what is your ADS sensitivity of a 1.6. The fuck is this? So now you've got way more complicated to figure out how to set your ADS sensitivity the way it should be.
I'm glad that my shit didn't change with the update, because I could have I probably could dial it in the firing range and in the, running my warm-ups anyway, get it dialed in. It just might take me a little while, but like, yeah, I don't want to fucking have to do math when I'm trying to play this game, dude. I do that shit all day for work. Like, let me just fucking play. I mean, it's true, dude. Shit. It doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it's they're just making stuff difficult for the sake of making stuff difficult. Like, and it's like they're changing it to justify change, right?
It's weird.
And it's like, and it kind of goes back to what I was alluding to at the beginning. If you're messing with stuff that doesn't need to be messed with, like, that's not going to be a good thing in the long haul, right? Like, people aren't going to respond well to it.
No.
And then you wonder why they want to switch out people with AI. AI doesn't make these dumb decisions. It just makes 6-finger Santas and bad maps.
Well, here's the thing. I had this debate on Twitter yesterday. I'm convinced that the people that make these decisions outside of their internal play tests, they don't just hop on this game and play it and know how it feels, how it should feel. Like they have their little charts and their fucking graphs or whatever, and they've done their internal play test, but I don't think that they hop on and actually play their game at all. Because if they did, a lot of these decisions that are being made would not be made, in my opinion. I know for a fact, I talked to my guy, and even he said, he's like, I don't really play this game that much outside of the playtest, and he's a ground level developer, so you know what I mean? Like, he's like, I'll hop on it and play, because he was like an extremely low rank, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? And he's like, yeah, I just I play it a lot for work, but I don't play it in my free time for various reasons or whatever. So I really don't think they play their game that much, if at all.
Well, all right. So how do I put this? When I was in development, I didn't mess with our product in the live environment that much either. I'm not gonna lie, because I messed with it. It's all I did all day.
Yeah, fucking 8 to 10 hours a day. You're doing that. Why are you gonna do that when you're off time?
Yeah, but it doesn't mean that I didn't understand the experience that people were having with it, right? Because look, most of the problems that people ran into, we knew about. We ran into them regularly. We knew they existed. So it's not like it was shocking to us when people said, oh, this doesn't work or this has problems. What was shocking to us is the extreme edge cases that would show up, right? The stuff of like, you do this and then, at the same time, it's like, there was one, we were developing a camera app, and there was one edge case where if you took a picture, if you max zoomed a picture and you cropped it, and then you rotated the phone, and while it was rotating, you cropped it again, right? It would crash the app.
Who sits around and figures out to fucking do that, though?
Me. But
that's true. You do like to fuck with shit.
But it was one of those things of like, everybody looked at it and said, yeah, okay, how often is that going to happen in real life, and how much engineering is it worth? And as far as I know, nobody found it. It didn't happen to anybody, right? But there were other issues that we shipped with that people did run into, and it was like, yeah, okay, well, we have that bug open and we will get to it.
Well, see, that, like, my point is like things like not allowing the ammo boxes to fill your ammo up, not allowing the ammo stations to fill your ammo up. Some of the mechanical things, like jumping, shooting, sliding, ADSing, and things like that that are important, to players and how we play the game. Like if they were playing the game, they would understand that some of these things that they've done are not good. That you can't have all your fucking buy stations on one side of the goddamn map, in a game where you have to have money and then go to said buy station to buy a fucking loadout. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just certain things like that I
Mm-hmm.
think that if they actually played the game, they wouldn't happen, or I would think wouldn't happen, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
Or it would be one of those things where it's like, I mean, look, just because you make the game doesn't mean you're good at it. And
No,
I
you don't
don't,
have to be good.
and I think that's a misunderstanding that people have in general, that, oh, you develop the game, why are you not good at it? Like, why would you not know these things? And it's like, look, sometimes people that make games, that make software, are bad at using it, right? Like, you don't have to be a rock star to be a good developer. But that means the downside of that is that means that you do not experience the game. It's just like, it's just like some of us and some, people that listen to this podcast, right? Like, they don't run into problems the same way that Brax does, right? Some of our guests have done, because when they log in, right, they play the game differently. And so if you're not the kind of player who's just constantly on the move and getting into gunfights, if you're a 3 to 5 kill a game player, then the idea of worrying about buy station distribution is probably lower on your agenda than making sure that Ghost works properly.
Yeah, that's got to work too. Did you see that a lot of the people that played in the World Series of Warzone woke up yesterday to a shadow ban?
I saw something about that. I don't know
What
how
the
that
fuck,
resolved.
dude? Like, I don't understand that. Like, that, if that doesn't tell you that this system is completely flawed, which people have been saying for years, I don't know what does. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, and there's some big names that were getting shadow banned too. They couldn't even play the goddamn game.
Yep. Well, I mean, I don't know. Again, they're heavily reliant on AI right now, and it's it's in the anti-cheat, it's in the development, it's in everything, and it's problematic.
And the reporting too. Like, just players being able to report, like, just mass report anybody. Like, I just don't know how useful that is. Like, I don't know that should hold as much weight. It should maybe flag the accounts, but like,
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think the reporting isn't necessarily bad in and of itself. It's that reports automatically can generate a shadow ban.
yes.
And that again relies on AI and automated systems to deal with something that shouldn't be. I think a report, if you want to report somebody, you shouldn't be able to report them after the game, because it's not going to that is going to be more punitive than anything else. But I think when you report somebody, it should snapshot what you saw, right? And generate a theater mode snapshot of it.
Like a 3-minute recording or something like that.
Or something. I don't know. Take your pick, a minute, whatever. Take a snapshot, and then it should deliver it to you offline sometime later, and you should have to review it before you can actually submit a report. That's how it should work. So that if you're just angry at somebody because they shit on you, screw you. Like, you don't get a report. Like, that doesn't work. But if you legitimately got cheated, feel like you got hacked on, it should give you the look, and you should be able to see it from both perspectives, so that you can catch, oh, damn, dude, he did see me. Like, my ass was sticking out of the wall, which has happened to me, where it's like, I believe that I'm in cover. I believe that I'm good. And it's like, I see the replay and I'm like, I am wearing a character model with like a backpack on, and you can see that. Okay. That makes sense. Right.
It's not just that though either, Sub. It's stuff that's built into the game. Like, and I play sometimes with people that are like, well, I don't know how he fucking knew I was there, or how did he see me? This guy's cheating. And it's like, there's an advanced UAV up when we're in multiplayer. Fucking, you have that, that recon perk, of course.
Yeah.
Or there's a UAV up. You know what I mean? Like, there's there's actual reasons. And then now in Warzone, the tracker perk basically works as tracker and combat scout, so you're live pinged, and then there's the live pinging through smoke and like all this. Like there's several reasons why he saw you or she saw you. You know what I mean?
There's
Like,
so many opportunities for someone to know where you are that
yeah,
you need to be able to see those. And, it's like the replay. It's like replay doesn't show, the kill cam doesn't show things like heartbeat sensor. It doesn't show, it's completely busted. And it leads to, and I'm not even going to like consider the rage aspect, of people just reporting you because you got shit on. Just the legitimate case. I mean, I have so many clips. I've had so many clips of like, from my point of view, it's super suspect. However, when I look at it from their point of view, even on the kill cam, it's like, that makes sense, right? And if I'm quick to report, I don't see that. And I think that has a good reporting system has to have a bit of integrity and a bit of like time between when you die and when the report gets filed. Because it shouldn't be up to players to highlight rage hackers. The game should do it. And that's because the Ricochet anti-cheat relies on AI for this shit, and that doesn't work.
It should be weighted. It shouldn't be weighted as much. And I mean, like, there's even other stuff that's built into the game that might be like aimbot or whatever. When you factor in a good player that knows how to use the rotational aim assist, and they're not missing shots. That's the other thing. Like, somebody who doesn't play the game but 2 hours a week is not going to know the difference, unfortunately, between a really good player or a cheater. And sadly, that's just the case, and that's why it shouldn't be weighted like that.
Here's my soapbox too, is that there are a lot of people who watch a lot of content and they do not have, and that content presents the argument that everybody's cheating all the time. And the problem is it's just not true. Like every set of numbers that I've come across that I've been able to gather on how many people are cheating in this game, there ain't no way that it's as much as some people will say it is. And it's like, everybody can't be cheating all the time. Like there has to be legitimate good players out there in the world.
Yeah. Well, I have a friend who thinks that 75% or more people that play this game cheat. And I'm like, what? At this point, I just don't even address it. Like,
yeah.
You know what? I'm going to let you be great. It's kind of like that Keanu Reeves thing. He's like, I'm at a point in my life where if you tell me 1 + 1 = 5, I'm like, okay, have fun.
Yeah.
I'm just not even going to address that. But, and I'll say this, it's that stuff right there, plus the fucking labels that are in this community that have done so much goddamn damage to it. And I don't know that it's recoverable. Like, that's why there's so much division in this player base, dude. And it's fucking terrible. Like, that's why I really am going out of my way. I'm not using the term casual because nobody fucking knows what that means anyway. Like you said, you know what I mean? So it's like that. And, it's just so much division, dude.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things of like, the end of the day, just, I don't know. Again, it comes back to Activision needs to stop screwing around with AI as much and just pay people to do their job well. They'll make so much more money if people are happy playing the game.
Yeah. Sentiment matters, dude. Sentiment definitely matters. And, so what's your thoughts overall on Season 1 Reloaded? Like, where are you at on that?
I have no thoughts on Warzone because it doesn't work for me. So
right?
I will probably spend some time screwing around in boot camp because that's the only mode that works. And I'll give you next week. I'll have some feedback on that unless something radically changes between now and then. As far as multiplayer goes, I think it's good for multiplayer. I think multiplayer got a lot of benefits to it. We got 3 new maps, right? Hacienda, which is of course, well, I say 3 new maps, 3 maps added. Hacienda, which is, classic and lots of, it plays very similar to how people remember it. So good job not screwing it up. The one actual new map we got, Underground, is and it's kind of fun. Depending on what gun you're running, I, of course, am doing that new special briefcase pistol SMG thing, and that thing sucks. So don't fucking run that gun.
I finished the compact yesterday. Finally.
Oh, yeah, the SMG?
Yeah, I finished that.
Nice.
So now I have all of my SMGs maxed out. I'm working on the Goblin. That's the last AR. And then I've got a couple LMGs. And I've finished the AEK. That's done. Working on the Frost line right now, too. Because I'm finished the 7.62.
7.62 is so much more fun than the Frost line. The
I'm struggling with that Frost line a little bit, if I'm being real. But I haven't got to really play. I played a decent amount of multiplayer yesterday and a little bit the day before. So I got to play the holiday version of Nuketown, which is pretty dope.
I like it. It's fun.
Yeah, I like all that stuff. But I haven't played Hacienda, and I haven't played any of the other maps or whatever. So
I'll tell you what is the 7.62. Anybody who's doing camos, when you get to the 7.62, long shots are back. And you know what this game is shitty for? Long shots on a sniper rifle, which I believe is 48 meters.
Well, you only have 2 maps, really, that you can do that on. You can do it on Scud and Vorkuta.
And Vorkuta doesn't actually have very many 48-meter sightlines where people actually show up.
Well, there's that lane. So, you have the spawn at the warehouse, right? Where you have the boxes that people can head glitch.
Right.
But then you have that lane down there where the fallen part of the crane is, and there's like the little holes. If you're in the window back there down in there, I think that might be 48 meters.
44.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Mm-hmm. Because you don't see them until they're on top of that that center, that round thing, right? And they get up on that, and it's 44. There's a ranged gun. There's a scope that has a range meter on it, so I was using that to figure out where ranges are. But where people show up, where people actually show up and you can hit them, it's not long enough.
What about where the coal carts are? That's what I'm talking about, like where those coal carts are, and then you can look through that window, and then there's the broken part, and then over here is that cog, right? So like over on the other side is the cog, but then you have that fallen down crane that's got like the window in it and the doorway and then other stuff. Like, is that not 44 meters?
That's not long enough.
Oh my God.
And it's like, there are points where you can get the distance, where you can see the distance, but you can't, but people don't show up there. By the time they pop up, they're closer. So like the way the map plays, you don't get very many people at range. Like I played it a whole map and I had one opportunity to hit somebody, and I did. So I got 1 out of it, but a whole map, I got 1 out of 15. You know where the best place to find, I haven't posted this yet. The best place to get long shots with that sniper is?
Where?
Nuketown.
What's the lane?
Okay. 2 lanes. Both spawns have it. All right. So on the one side, I don't know how to describe it. You have the concrete, there's that concrete bunker entrance.
Into the garage on the other side?
Well, back up, so you're at the back fence, and the entrance to the garage is 50 meters.
Okay. And
so anybody in the garage you can hit for a long shot, and if you're all the way back against the fence, you can actually you can get long shots kind of in front of the garage, people crossing it, and so you can get it there. And then on the opposite spawn, you go to the hedges by you know how on that one side there's that kind of that burned out car, and it's that little there's that burned out car, and it's kind of like a little outcropping. On the spawn side, you go past the gate, there's like that little gated area, you go all the way to the back of that, and you look and you get a very narrow window, but the yellow school bus is like 60 meters from there, and that's a glitch, and people like to peek that all the time. They like to peek the corner of the school bus before they push up, and you can pop them there. So on Nuketown, I got it done in 1 game.
Nice.
So I ended up with like 20 headshots or 20 long shots in that game.
And so I would think that would be kind of hard, especially because you always have those assholes that flip the fucking spawn.
And so I run when I was doing snipers, I was running the spring
Recon part?
mine and no, I was running the spring mine and the bomb.
Okay.
And so I would just throw those on the where people would on the other side where so when people spawn in, they're going to spawn on top of my trap. And so I get a heads up that the spawn is flipped. Didn't really help me because I just usually they would spawn like 5 people and I would just get one and then get blown away.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, one of the things I like to do on that Nuketown is like the yellow side. There on the right side there's like this little head glitch where these like boxes or wood or whatever, and then shoot into that doorway. Because there's always some asshole trying to get over there and snipe out of that doorway. So,
but it's not that is long shot. That will long shot for the for everything else but snipers.
It makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying that was a long shot. I just like to go to that part.
Yeah.
To that.
But no, that's a great spot. So this map is so interesting because you can camp the shit out of it and you can also rush the shit out of it, and both styles play well. Like unless everybody's a camper and then you just get killed when you rush, or everybody's rushing and then it's like you're gonna get like 1 or 2 and then you're gonna get bum rushed.
And there's no 48-meter shots on Babylon, is there? I can't imagine there would be.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
It didn't come up for me until I found Nuketown by accident.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I did that, I went, oh, let me just hop into I was gonna hop into the 24/7 playlist, but then I finished it and I was like, fuck it.
I bet you there's some 48-meter shots on Rewind on the back side where.
Yeah. But again, Rewind is one of those things of it's feast or famine, right? Like you either get everybody wanting to come down that aisle, or you don't fucking see anybody for days.
Yeah.
Because that map is just so weird.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. But yeah, I mean, like overall, I think I agree with Drade. And I'm only dinging it because of the connectivity issues in ranked and the shadow ban thing.
Mm-hmm. So, zombies players are feasting. Holy shit, dude! This is like the season of zombies.
Yeah,
I wish I liked zombies.
Yeah, I wish I did too. I have a friend who she played a little bit of multiplayer, like when it first came out, but then she's been playing almost all zombies, and she's about to hit Master Prestige here pretty soon.
That's crazy.
Just
zombies, I do hear is an absolute XP farm. Even if you're I haven't unlocked the new shotgun, but from people that have they say it's phenomenal in multiplayer, so I'm a little afraid.
I've already seen those 2, I think, what is it, 2-shot fucking kill or whatever, like even in Warzone, and that's why I'm glad that's the other benefit of ranked is they take out all the cheese, so you don't have to deal with the bullshit.
Yep.
Which is really nice. Like, I don't think there's thermals in ranked. Like, they took out some other stuff, but yeah, so that's pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, I think overall, I agree with Drade. I'll give it a 5 out of 10. Not because I'm overly pissed off. I mean, just the biggest thing is just being able to connect. And if I can't connect to your fucking game, then I don't know what to tell you, man.
Yeah, I mean, the fundamentals in Warzone are not. Warzone is just not working right. Like the fundamentals are not there, and it's like no matter what content they put out, it's frustrating.
When do you think we'll get on track? If you had to guess, like when do you think we'll be able to get on track? Because I know they're going to.
February.
We do this fucking every year.
February.
So season 2, basically.
Yep. I think season 2 will solve. They have to. They have to fix it or Verdansk is going to tank everything. Like they will fail Warzone if they don't have it. So I think they're going to patch something and maybe deal with this hit reg issue. Probably not, because they haven't even acknowledged that it's a hit reg issue.
No, they gaslit the community saying it's fucking inadvertent blood splatter or whatever.
Which it probably is that too. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but come on, man. Like that. Whoever tweeted that.
I mean, so I was hopeful, and I'm also hoping that they haven't actually addressed this yet, and they have. But I could see it being like, so look, when people post this stuff, especially like this updates thing, there's two kinds of posts you're gonna see. You're gonna see the one by the marketing team, the actual communications team posting it, in which case they will thoughtfully sit down and they will talk to the engineer in question, and the engineer who knows what they're talking about will tell them this is the issue, and then the product, the product guy. So like, all right, so this is how it worked at the company one of the companies I worked at. They need to post on social. So that means that the communications person, the person that actually wrote the post, goes to the product manager for whatever feature is not working. And they say, this isn't working and we have to address it. We have to make a statement. And so the product person goes to the engineering team in question and says, what's wrong and when will we fix it? And they come back and they say, well, here's a very detailed, they're engineers. So they say, here's what's wrong. And they detail the engineering of what's wrong. And the product person then translates that for marketing and says, oh, the issue is that there's a netcode problem with hit registration and bullets aren't arriving where they're supposed to arrive. And there's a mismatch between players. And so the bullets, so we have this visual issue going on, but, we have this hit reg issue. And then the product, the communications person dresses that up nicely and says, we're having some hit reg connectivity issues and we're working on it. 2 weeks, right? Then you have scenarios where things are really broken and everybody is pulling all-nighters to fix it. And communications goes, hey, we need a post on this. And the only thing they get back is a link to the bug problem where they copy and paste the title of the bug and they say, this is what's broken, and they're working on it. And a lot of times the bug makes no sense. Like if you're not understanding what's going on and you don't have access to the full report. So for example, you would write, I would present what we're seeing is, the report would go something along the lines of like client reports, blood splatter and hit marker, blood splatter and visual indications of bullet registration, no damage dealt. And then the investigation would reveal that there appears to be a mismatch in hit registration between the server and the client, resulting in erroneous, blood splatter when no registration is recorded. And then further investigation in replication would identify the underlying problem as server desync, and the client is, the client's hit registration is not translating to the server properly, which would then generate probably 2 reports, one to the server team, one to the architecture team, to the backend team to fix the desync issue, and the other one to fix, to make sure that we sync up the visual effects with what is actually happening, right? So that they're not generating client-side visual effects when the server's not registering it. So two separate issues, right? Mm-hmm. But a marketing person who might look at all of that and just grab the title of it, which is mismatch, visual indicators not correct, and post that shit, right? So they probably know that the issue is there, and I'm assuming, because I know people that do this stuff, that there's a lot more going on, and they know that. But whoever was doing that work on the communication side didn't have all the cards in front of them when they made that post. And then it's kind of like one of those, what do you do, right? Like, you already catching backlash. It's like, if they try to back off of it, they're going to catch more shit. If they just put their heads down and then come back and say, we fixed everything, like, that's probably the better win from a communication standpoint at this point. That's the better win. Just fix it. And then you can say, we fixed it. Look, we knew it was, and maybe you do an after action report of like, there were ongoing server issues and we fixed those and that fixed the problem. Like, they're not going to win by trying to like clarify it at this point, because they're just going to be ripped on even further. So their best bet is to do what they're doing now, is to say fucking nothing.
Well, I mean, they got community noted, so I mean, and they got fucking absolutely cooked in that community note too. And, rightfully so, they deserved it. I'm sorry. I mean, I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, that's what they put out to the community, so they got cooked for it.
Yeah, fair.
And
it's
and
like,
they deserved it.
it's like kudos to them, I guess, for not stirring the pot more and like throwing more fuel in the fire and just let community notes do their job. But again, it goes back to, they don't have the basics in line. We're whatever happened, whatever went wrong. And look, this is, what I'm going to point out. This is the sixth time we've what do we call it?
Fifth or sixth integration.
Six integrations, 5 of which have been bad and problematic. The only one that worked well was the one where nobody screwed around with the plan. Cold War scrapped an entire mode and decided to integrate for the first time. Disaster. Caldera tried to move the client to the Caldera launcher, gave up on it, and reverted and changed their plan last minute. Allegedly. Disaster. Modern Warfare 2. Oh, okay, I'll say this. Modern Warfare 2, the launch of Modern Warfare 2 was not ideal for some PC players because of NVIDIA. They fixed that. Warzone 2 launched pretty well. I don't think there was a huge problem with Warzone 2.
Well, the connectivity issues, like I said, we were disconnecting a lot.
Were there connectivity issues? I don't remember that.
Yes, I got cheated out of several wins where I'd get like the direct X. I even have a TikTok of me typing "fix your game" into the message thing. Yeah, I might actually repost that.
I need to. I will look back on that. I think wasn't that the same as wasn't that the NVIDIA issue though?
I think it probably had to do with the NVIDIA, but they let that go for a while. Like it went
all right.
At
so
least
NVIDIA was
6
NVIDIA
weeks.
was an issue.
Yeah.
So all on that, and then everything else. They had so many other problems break.
But 2 into 3 was good. Like that, there was not really a lot of issues with 2 into 3.
And there was no reports of them changing directions aside from making the game standalone, right? Like the actual content they didn't change. They just made it.
Well, I think
$70.
that part of why it worked is because if you remember correctly, towards the tail end of Warzone 2, they were speeding things up anyway, mechanically and movement wise. Yeah. So they were already incrementally doing these things. And there was a big difference between the launch of 3 and the launch of 2, as far as like the mechanics and the movement side of things. So it was significantly better. So, I think them probably doing that incrementally like that, not trying to do everything all at once, probably contributed to why that launch was so much better than really any of the other ones we've had,
Well, and I don't think it even has to do with that, because you look at Black Ops 6. When Black Ops 6 launched, it launched really well.
We're talking Warzone, though.
I know, but multiplayer, it launched really well. So I don't think the mechanic changes that they made were drastic enough in Warzone 3 to have made an issue, because they're just changing values. They're not creating new systems, right?
Right.
So the launch of Warzone 3 went pretty much flawlessly because they had their plan, they executed their plan, and their plan worked well. Again,
well, they sped things up.
Okay, but that's just changing values, right? Like,
right, this is completely different.
So what they've done, and Black Ops 6, right? They launched, they designed their product, they followed through on their product, and they launched the Black Ops 6 launch pretty well. Like, there weren't any major problems. I think we talked about this when it came out. It worked. Everything worked as intended. Warzone, however, we know they changed the map. We know they've made some radical changes based on, this, where Warzone was to where their development took them. And it's been a disaster.
Yeah.
They're they're making fundamental changes to the game that they weren't, they didn't spend 4 years doing it. They probably spent 8 months working on some of these things.
Basically, they didn't account for a lot of these things.
And it was a disaster.
Yeah.
And that I think is crystal clear. The need for Warzone to have its own development cycle and to not be tied to pulling functionality from game to game.
So I know the loadout bros probably wouldn't like this, but what I would suggest, what I think would be awesome is like if we had a rotation between Warzone and Blackout, right? Like a 2-year Warzone, 1-year Blackout. Give Warzone that whole year while Blackout's going to do what they need to do development wise, and fucking, rotate it out, or they got to do something. I don't know that that's maybe the answer, but they do have to do something. It would be great if it was its own thing and not tied to a yearly title. These other BRs are successful not being
Because they
tied
don't
to a
change
title.
everything.
Yeah, they're not recreating the wheel or reinventing the wheel. Like they have their identity and they're sticking to that.
And Fortnite, Fortnite's been an example of a game that just lasts forever, right? And they go up and down. They have their ups and they have their downs. And it's like when they make bad maps, for example, they just ride it out for the season and then they put another map in. And they just sustain themselves season after season after season because the core fundamentals of the game don't really change that much.
No, and they've improved that. Did you see the new movement they added into it?
The wall running?
Yeah.
Or whatever? Yeah. We'll see how well people love that. I hear it's sweaty as hell right now.
Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, they brought back OG Fortnite, right? Like, and that's one of the things like that I think that they've done really, really well is they've managed to stay who they are. They've introduced new things into the game, right? They didn't try to dumb down their game to appeal to people. They just created another fucking mode where there's no build, and it was successful. Like the no build is fun. I wouldn't want to main that game, but I wouldn't be disappointed if I had to play that game. I played it for a while. It was fun. I had a good time. I'd prefer to play Call of Duty, but again, like I tweeted yesterday, dude, just because we point out the things that Fortnite, Apex, PUBG, and some of the other BRs are doing well, that doesn't mean we want Call of Duty to be a carbon copy of those games. We're just pointing out the fact that they're adding content, adding modes, and keeping their player base happy, and also remembering who the fuck they are.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you get a game that's stable, that's foundationally stable, then you can innovate and you can have fun with it. And you can add things here and there and move things around. And you're not constantly fighting the same battles. You're not constantly fighting the same problems. You're not constantly fighting, structural issues, right? Like they don't have server, issues like we have in Call of Duty. They don't have that because they figured that out years ago and they haven't messed with it. They keep messing with Warzone at fundamental levels for no reason. And it breaks the game every time they do it. Every time they sit there and they say, "Oh, we have a great idea. Let's restart everything." Like it breaks.
It should be called Call of Duty Wash, Rinse, and Repeat Zone because essentially that's what we're fucking doing every year. And, and that's the benefits some of those other games have. Again, PUBG, you don't hear about the issues. And all three of those games are in my algorithm, so I see shit on those games all the time. Like this morning, guess what? Fortnite's rolling out a 5v5, mode. I think that's cool, man. And what's crazy to me, though, is I'm already seeing people say it's a COD killer. For the love of God, stop. The developers are not calling it a COD killer. Only people that want to see it fail are calling it a COD killer. So that way, when it doesn't kill COD, they can be like, "See, I told you." Like fucking hell, bro. Like the tribalism in this community is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like they're just doing what they do. And you know what? If Call of Duty doesn't want to keep up, then that's on them, man.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's no comparison directly between the two games because they're very different games.
They are.
They play different. They have different groups of people that they attract. But when you look at the principles of the games, right? They're both battle royales and one does the fundamentals better.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty's fundamentals are all over the board right now. They're all over the place. There's not a single thing that COD you can look at and say COD is doing this phenomenally besides the store. It's one thing that always works.
It does always work, and it's fixed very quickly. And yes, we're fully aware those are different teams that do those things, but
but it doesn't change. But that's the thing, right? Look at the one thing that doesn't change is the store. No matter what you do to the game, the store has been fundamentally exactly the same for 5 years, right? But they're willing to fundamentally change the game routinely, and it's creating problems. So I kind of give up on like answering the question of what do we need? Like what does Warzone need? We know what Warzone needs. Everybody knows what Warzone needs. It needs to work. And right now they're more focused on decorating it and making, adding in little features and changes that people didn't ask for than they are on making it work. And I don't know how to get that through their heads of like, fix the damn game.
Are we still live on your end?
Work. So yeah, we got to figure that out.
Yeah, I agree. And let me ask you this. Okay. What's one thing that Call of Duty Warzone does better than any of the other BRs? What is it?
The store.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. I mean,
but I'll tell you what they do. I'll tell you what they do, and the store is related to it, but it's not just the store. You look at the season. The amount of content that we get in this game is untouchable by everybody else. And I'm gonna stare right at Ubisoft and say, you guys blew it with X Defiant, because you couldn't get the base game to work, but you also couldn't fill it with content either. Right? There was very little to do in that game besides play meaningless matches because ranked wasn't there for a while.
I don't think they wanted it to fail, but I think it was destined to fail off the rip. And like I said, the other day, anybody that looks at X Defiant and says that the reason why it failed is because it had no SBMM is a fucking clown. Because that's not why it failed. Because if that's the case, then why has every other Ubisoft title in the last 4 years failed? The only one that's doing halfway decent is Rainbow Six, and that's debatable.
And that's an accident more than anything else.
Yeah.
Let's be clear.
Yeah, so, you can't look at X Defiant and say that it failed because it didn't have SBMM. That's not why it failed at all. They had plenty of issues, both, from a functionality to mechanical to management to those kind of things. And I think Mark Rubin did the best he could with that game, with what he was given. And he came really goddamn close to making a very, very good game. And for whatever reason, it just...
Well, and I think part of the problem, a huge part of the problem is that they didn't put the effort in. I'll say they didn't put the effort into the store. They didn't put the effort into the content drip that everybody else gets, from Warzone. And Fortnite does it very well too. There is always something new. And here's where Call of Duty is just the gargantuan 8,000-pound gorilla in the sphere, is that there's always something to play, right?
Yeah.
Look at where we are right now. It's like you have Warzone. For me is trash. It's not working, right? But there are 4 modes of Warzone, and actually one of them does work for me. It's not fun to play more than one, more than a little bit, because it doesn't count for anything. But you have Plunder, you have Warzone, you have Resurgence. Now you have Ranked, and then you have Boot Camp, right? One of those actually works, even though everything else is broken. So I can still experience Warzone. And then you have multiplayer, and you have 20 different modes in multiplayer. You have hardcore. You have zombies, right? You can still go back and play DMZ. You can still go back and play Modern Warfare 3 zombies. I just look at the last, in this era, how many modes is that? And how many variations of every mode exist, right? And then you look at this, we're in the season Reloaded, and you just look at the roadmap for the overview for the Reloaded, and it's there's a lot of stuff just at the halfway mark. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new weapons coming in, right? Or I'm sorry, 3 new weapons and two new attachments that generally create, fundamentally change the weapon. So you get 5 versions of weapons popping up. You get a ton of bundles. You get all these holiday LTMs. I think that's 3 LTMs just in, or 2 events, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 LTMs in total. Some new map skins. We have this Squid Game crossover coming up. You've got a brand new zombies map loading. There's so much content dropping every 4 weeks, not to mention everything they're throwing in the store in between. There is something to hook and something to get you to play for everywhere. It doesn't matter. There's something for you in this game. And nobody else has that. Fortnite is trying, and they have the resources. And look, they have the resources to get there where they can compete toe to toe with Call of Duty. And they've shown that they're willing to do that because they created no build, right? It used to be Fortnite was Building Simulator 4000. Okay. That's what it was. It was who built the biggest mansion first, right? And then they introduced no build. And then they introduced, they've got like a 5 mode coming up. They had first person, right? Is that still around?
No, they don't have first person yet, and that's what people are saying.
That's
like
coming, right?
If they do like a first person BR, a lot of people are out.
I mean, there's so much going on. And like I said, there's so much going on. They have so much content that they're probably the closest to being able to compete with Call of Duty on that level of like, there's something for everybody. And Fortnite has a lot. So this is something that, my daughter found that she likes to play. Fortnite has a lot of like custom maps and custom modes that people create on their own, right?
It's almost like a Roblox type of thing.
Yeah. There's a whole ecosystem out there. So there's something for everybody, really. There's a lot of content out there. And that's a way to compete with Call of Duty. And I think that's why Fortnite is still strong in the market. It may not appeal to everybody who loves Call of Duty, but it's still a strong game. And I compare that, and you compare that to some of these, to like what Ubisoft has done with X Defiant. They had so much to draw from, and they couldn't get the basics right. But they also couldn't, they didn't draw on it. They didn't do anything. They gave you one thing to do, which was to play, a 6v6 arena shooter.
And the only reason I stopped playing that game, I did have fun playing the game. I played it a lot for the first 2 or 3 weeks, but gradually my friends went to playing other things or not playing games at all. And I just didn't like solo queuing that game. I don't even really like solo queuing Call of Duty multiplayer that much because fucking, why. I told you that last week, but I'm not going to go solo queue that game. If I had a squad of people who wanted to play that, I'd play that game in a heartbeat. Like it's a decent game, man. It has its issues just like every other game, but it's just one of those things. It's like, I wanted it to do well because we truly do need, we need, Call of Duty has won by default for entirely too fucking long. And we need competition in this sphere.
And look, we don't live in communist land where the state dictates how we should experience the world. We live in a free market economy. And the number one driver of innovation in a free market economy is competition. If you have to innovate and you have to deliver in order to survive, then you are incentivized deeply to succeed in that. And if you can't deliver it, then you die. Duke Nukem, right?
Yeah.
Owned the 90s, was one of the most popular games of its era. And then they couldn't deliver the sequel. They couldn't deliver Duke Nukem Forever for 11 years. And when it dropped, it was terrible, and everybody hated the franchise, and they said, get bent.
Well, timing is everything, too. You take 11 years to give a sequel, and then the sequel's not good, then you essentially kill your fucking franchise. But, I raised the question this week, too. Why wouldn't you want Call of Duty and Warzone to be better? Why wouldn't you want it to be the best version that it could be? Why wouldn't you want them to emulate some of the things that some of these other games are doing, as far as just mainly from just like from an approach standpoint, right? Like, I'm not
Mhm.
talking about like make building in Call of Duty. Fuck that. I'm out if they do that. But like, just from an approach standpoint, why wouldn't you want those things?
Because people don't want to feel like their worldview is being challenged. They don't want to. They don't want to be told that it could be better, and they don't want. They want it to succeed on its own merits. I think without having to deal with noise from other games, or And look, and I'm going to point to the console wars as a parallel. Right? Like, you can't say anything about Sony or Xbox without having Sony or Xbox fans jump down your throat
Yeah, it's
and like want to yell at you. And you can't say you can't talk about Intel versus Ryzen chips in the PC world without the same thing. Like, people will get all upset at you if like, oh, you think Intel sucks? I'm like, well, right now Intel does suck. Like, their high end chips don't stand up to the high end Ryzen gaming chips. It is just what it is, right? Like, the Ryzen, the X3D series is designed to play games. It's what it's designed to do. And it does it better than what Intel's doing. Does it mean that if Intel doesn't turn around and produce a better chipset, that it should be good for everybody?
there's ebbs and flows, man.
Yeah.
The next set of Ryzen chips might be dog shit. We don't know. Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and hope for one thing or the other. All I want is for it to be everything to be good for everyone. Like, I don't play Apex, but I want that game to be good for the people that do play it. And I want it to be good because maybe it might help push Call of Duty to do some things.
Yeah.
That's it. And I respect those games for what they are. And I've played a lot of Apex. I played an okay amount of Fortnite and not as much PUBG, but like, I can appreciate and respect those games and the things that they do well based on my experience and based on what I'm hearing from my friends that play the game and what I'm seeing online.
Yeah. And look, just because I don't care for a game or a mode, right? Like, I don't like zombies. I don't love round-based zombies. I don't enjoy it. I don't think it looks fun to me at all. Doesn't mean that I think that people who do enjoy it don't deserve to have what they enjoy. Like, I enjoyed last year's Zombies. A lot of Zombies fans didn't. Great. That's fine. They decided to go with what their fan base wanted, and I support that move. It's not for me. I'm not going to play it. I'm not interested in it. But I'm not here to say, oh, you shouldn't have it because I don't like it. Like, who cares? I don't like it. So what?
That's weird. That's weird energy that some of these people actually do have. I feel like when the whole ranked thing came out last year and it was resurgence only and that stuff, and it's like, I want ranked to be in resurgence too. I just don't want it to be in there at the expense of big map. Like, I think both modes should have it. Then people that play both modes will be happy.
In theory. I mean, we're Call of Duty players, so we're never happy.
Yeah, true. Yeah, we're never happy, but no, I mean, I think there's some interesting things happening in the gaming industry right now, like with just in BRs. You got Delta Force that just dropped. It's separate genre, but that Marvel Rivals, I'm gonna try to give that a run this week, even if it's just for a little bit.
It looks terrible.
What?
I've seen gameplay. It looks awful.
See, I think it looks kind of cool. Like, so I just want to, it's free. I want to put my hands on it. I want to play it. So that way I can actually talk about it from,
Is it free?
At least I believe so. A semi-informed, viewpoint, but also, did you hear what they're doing with their battle pass?
No.
Basically, it's not a seasonal battle pass, really. It's a battle pass. It's seasonal, but you still have the ability to finish it after the season. So that's kind of cool. That's something they're doing for their community.
Who just did that? Someone just did that. Was it Apex that just went back and let you go back and get stuff from old battle passes? Somebody did.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think someone just did that. And yeah, it's no, you know what? I think it's Fortnite. I think Fortnite let you go back.
Yeah, they did. That's right. It was Fortnite.
And get stuff from the old battle passes. Which, you know what? Easy money, right?
Well, and that's the other thing I pointed out this morning, now that we're thinking about it. So Fortnite and Apex don't have a yearly title that they benefit from, the resources of the sales from. Like, they don't have that, and they're still doing well and doing all these things. So my point is to tie in with what you said earlier about it being its own thing. Warzone could be its own thing. Like those other games are on their own. They don't have a fucking like it doesn't have to be that, you know. And if you make a good enough multiplayer, that thing will sell well on its own merits too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it should be separate. I think it could work.
Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know. We got to figure out, Warzone has to figure out how to just be a stable game. Like that's what it's missing. It's missing stability year from year. And it's like we can spend the entire year getting the game stable and getting it to a point where it's enjoyable to play. Most of the players will have left by that point because their experience early was bad and they've moved on to something else. And then we start over the next year. And it's definitely showing that people are over that cycle. Like they're just not willing to put up with it.
No, people are getting tired of it, man. Again, you have your top 1% can't even play the fucking game because they're all shadow banned. Like, so I don't know. But anyway, I mean, I think it's going to be better in 2 weeks than it is now. While I'm critical of the game, I'm also optimistic and hopeful that it's going to be good. And I'm not at a point where I'm just going to say, fuck you and not play the game. I'm not there yet. I might be in like April or May. I mean, if I'm being real, I've done that before. Like I'll take like a month or two break from that game, or a month break.
Let's see if I can even actually play the game.
Yeah, but I mean, like with Verdansk coming out and everything, like it is crucial that they get on this shit and get this stuff squared away before that comes out. The game
has to work before Verdansk. Verdansk has to be flawless at this point. Like we're way beyond the point where we can go through this again with an integration that doesn't work, because it'll be the first time the game is broken integrations in the same year twice.
Yeah,
like they could set a record. How many times can we fuck up integrating this game?
Wouldn't that be the most Call of Duty thing ever if they did?
The worst nightmare I can think of is that they finally get the game working and they get it running and they integrate it and they revert all this bullshit. They revert it back to where it is like last week, where everything is just broken.
Honest with you, dude, I am scared to fucking death of what Warzone's going to look like whenever Infinity Ward has influence again. I am. And yes, I know they brought us Warzone 1. That's cool. But they do not have a good track record after that. With what they did with the, Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. I'm scared to fucking death of it, dude. And I'm not.
Well, what? Treyarch is not doing much better. I'm afraid of bunny hopping. Yeah. Let's make Omni movement, which should be amazing, feel like shit because I don't want to bunny hop. That scares me. Data says it scares me.
Data's only as good as the person reading it, man.
So anyway, well, we're coming to the holiday season. For some reason, Twitter has been shit at broadcasting us, so we may get half episodes on Twitter. We will always post the full episode on YouTube once it's done. My new camera worked this time. I'm still trying to figure out how I want the background, how to light this room properly so it looks good.
Talk about next week.
But next week we have a guest lined up. Going to be announcing that this week. So keep an eye on our Twitter page and definitely check out the Discord. And we are kind of gearing up for the holidays, so we should be pretty busy until we get to that Christmas, right before Christmas. It's going to get a little hectic. So stay tuned for how we handle that. And then, it's going to be, the new year is going to start out with a banger. We've got some great stuff planned, some guests lined up for that as well, for the start of the new year. And we'll be going into year 3 of this podcast. So we appreciate everybody who's been with us this long. And we're gonna just keep ramping up the good content and the good stuff and have it all for you. So with that, appreciate everybody hanging out. Love to have you listening in, and we're gonna catch you all in the next one. Forget it. All right.